just turned 24 today. So depending on how the next 15 minutes go, this is either going to be the best birthday ever or the worst birthday ever. So sometimes we want to do things and we want to learn skills that we have no form of training or experience in. So when you try and do something new, you might be told, you don't have enough experience to do this, to which you might reply, well, how am I meant to get experience if nobody gives me a chance? So that's what I've come to talk about today. I've been writing about news, music, and sports for 4 years now. But when I started writing, I was only getting 50 views an article, and that was on a good day. Nowadays, having been able to check some of the analytics pages of some of the platforms that I've written for, I can see that my work has had a few million views. Now, to me, these millions of views, they don't represent some big, flashy number, but they represent being able to teach myself a new skill and then find an experience with that. So I hope that by explaining how I managed to do that, that it might encourage somebody to do the same with what they want to do. So how I learned to teach myself a new skill and then find experience with it was by subscribing to these two principles. The first is perseverance. Now, it's one thing to be good at something, but you also have to be good at that thing on a regular basis. Basically, as I went through school, I found that business was always one of my best subjects. So I ended up studying business management at university. But about halfway through my degree, I'd realized that I'd lost interest in it and I didn't want to pursue it as much as I did when I first started. But I felt like I'd come too far to quit. Plus I'm Indian, so dropping out of a university degree probably wouldn't have gone down well with my Asian family. So I continued with the degree, but I took steps to try and set myself up to do the things that I actually wanted to do after university had finished. So for me, that thing was writing. So what I did was I set up a blog. Now, I'd done a few small bits of writing work before this, but it was never anything serious. And the reason it wasn't serious is because I was lazy. So how it used to work was I'd write one article, maybe take like a 3-week break, and it would just go like that. I was lazy, so I didn't really get anywhere. But with this blog, it was time to be serious. So I had this blog for at least a year. And in the whole time of having this blog, the record I got for the most number of views on any one particular day was 237 views, which, if you're not sure what that number represents, it's a rubbish total. It's nothing to scream and shout about, but I couldn't beat it. I had this blog for a year, and I set that record on day 2. So in this whole time of persisting with this blog for over a year, never once beat this measly total that I set for myself on day 2, but I still stuck with it. Another thing I found was the articles I was writing, they weren't quick or easy to write either. Sometimes I would spend a good few hours researching and writing something I knew was only going to get 20 views. But again, I persisted with it. So why bother persisting with things that provide such low returns? When you're starting off on your journey of trying to teach yourself a new thing, it's likely that you will be operating on small levels. So whilst you see different cases of maybe a person does one particular bit of work and then in 2 days suddenly their career's taken off. That's some people, but I found that for most people, it doesn't really work like that. So when you're at these small levels and these small platforms, what helped me was trying to replicate the quality that might be expected of me on a bigger platform. So with this tiny, tiny blog, I'd look at good writers and good publications and I'd think, what skills do you have that I currently don't have? Like, what are you doing that's got you to this place that I need to add to my bag of tricks to then get me to where I needed to go? And once I got a good enough understanding of what those skills were, I was able to make a gradual improvement. So I started off with a tiny blog, and then I moved to a blog that was slightly less tiny. And once I got there, I learned new skills. I brushed up on this, I brushed up on that, and then I was able to move to a small blog. And then from there, touch up on your skills, improve again, and then you make improvement like that. So what I found drives improvement, and the thing that kind of got me experience, was perseverance. So when I was at university, I had an idea to set up some kind of business for students. So how it works is at university, you're always recommended to buy the most expensive version of a textbook, and that would cost around £50. But what I always used to do was buy last year's version of a textbook, and that would cost like £20, and I'd save money. Another thing I found was, it's not always easy to buy all of these textbooks in one place. So I already don't want to buy these textbooks. It's too much money. And now you're making me go to this website, this bookstore, and it was just inconvenient. So I thought I could solve this problem by introducing a marketplace for, almost like eBay for student textbooks. So I could solve that by introducing a marketplace where students could buy and sell textbooks among themselves. So you'd have the higher option for £50, but then you'd also have plenty of second-hand options for £20, and they would be provided by students. This service would also allow students to sell their old textbooks. So once you're done with one semester at university, I found that all my old textbooks, they're still under my bed today, just collecting dust. I wasn't able to resell them or find value from them. So you could do that with this supposed service. Another thing, I thought I could take it further than this. So I thought, as well as textbooks, what else do students need? I thought they needed a discussion space. So if you've got a query or you're unsure about something in your course and you perhaps don't want to go to your lecturer, you might post on a relevant Facebook group related to your course. So I studied a module called Strategic Management. Let's say that I was struggling with that. I might then go on to the Facebook group for third-year business management students, and maybe I'd post something like, "Hi guys, struggling with strategic management, could someone help?" If someone then comes back to me with an explanation, but that explanation doesn't resonate with me and I don't really still understand, I'm not then likely to comment on that Facebook post saying, "Still don't get this, I feel even more stupid now, could you please help?" Because online, we never really want to look too stupid, and that's true for students as well. So if you're not sure, there wasn't really a space where you could ask a question and still not be sure and continue to ask questions without worrying about your social perception. So I thought, as well as this fantastic textbook business, you could introduce a discussion space for students to answer their own queries or exchange revision notes and all of this kind of stuff, and it would be great. I thought, I take a small cut from every sale. Maybe we make a little money from advertisements as well. And yeah, great idea. But then when I thought about what I'd have to do to persevere with it and bring that idea to life, I couldn't commit to it. So if anybody out there wants a business idea, please take down my email so we can discuss payment and percentages. So yeah, you can't just persevere with any old thing, because you have to go through a period of what I would call low returns. So again, when I started out on this blog, I was getting barely any views, barely anything. It was tough, it was long, it wasn't fun, but I had to go through that knowing that if I just see this period out now, I'll come out on the other side with the skills that I need to get to where I need to go. But like I said, that period of low returns, it's not fun. So it can be fun, but it wasn't really fun for me. So when I was writing these articles and getting like 10 views, I had to text. I say text, it was more like shamelessly spam. I had to shamelessly spam all of my friends, begging them to share my work, because otherwise, where am I getting my views from? But thankfully, some of them did that for me, and it helped me to get to where I need to go. Saying that, I'm pretty sure that some people blocked me as well, because I haven't heard from them in a while, but that's neither here nor there. So you have to go through a period, or I believe most people do. Again, there will be some people that can just do one thing and that's them, they fly and off you go. That's great, but I found that I fell into the boat of, I don't have that luxury, so I've just got to be ready to work and put in that kind of low return period. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, I've got a few things I could persevere with, or I could commit to, but I'm not sure what, what I would say with regards to that is, I don't believe that any skill, so I don't believe that you can just teach yourself any skill. There is going to be loads of jobs, loads of paths, loads of careers where you can't do that thing unless you've been taught something or you've gone through some form of training. So if I go to the doctors tomorrow and the GP turns around and says, oh, by the way, haven't actually studied medicine, just taught myself, I'm leaving straight away, I'm not staying. So you can't just teach yourself any old thing. And whilst the internet and social media, it's great for things like providing us with a space to learn, providing us with great contacts and that kind of stuff, I still don't believe that you can just rock up and say, yep, I'm going to do that and off I go. But what I would say is you can find things that align closely with your skills and your interests and pursue those. And a lot of the time, we have skills and interests that are a bit hidden to us. They're below the surface level, but they exist. You just have to dig a bit and find out what those things are. But on this note of perseverance, you could commit to something, but it doesn't necessarily mean you'll improve. Just because you put a lot of time into something or you're really committed to it, again, you're not going to improve, which brings me to my second point, which you guess might be improvement. So let's suppose that every activity we do can be divided into units of work. So when I started writing, I could only produce 2 units of work in a set time frame. And then as I moved on to bigger platforms, it became 4 units of work in that same time frame, and then 8 units of work in the same time frame, and then 16. So basically, I had the same time, but I had to find a way to do more in that time. I don't have more than 24 hours in a day, so the time I am spending has to be more productive. And how you kind of do more is by either increasing the quantity or the quality. But what I found is we always want to increase the quantity without paying too much attention to the quality. So we always want more views, more followers, more hits, more this, more that. But you can't just pluck more from thin air. More doesn't just grow on trees. You have to go out there and find more yourself. So whilst you're trying to find, exploring how you can make those improvements, then it's really important to remember that when you're teaching yourself something, you're both the student and the teacher. So when you get taught something, like back in school, throughout university, there was always a teacher there to guide me on that journey, to lead me to the next step. But when I had to teach myself something, I didn't have that luxury. I had to work out essentially what my teacher might tell me and then go and do those things as the student. So yeah, what helped me to improve then with this new skill was, for me it was writing. For you, I imagine it's probably something different, but what helped me was viewing the task at hand through what I would call a rolling job description. So if I pursued a job closely related to my degree at university, it's likely that I could load up Google now, find a job description, and probably be able to tick off most of the points, as long as it was related to the thing I studied. Why? Because I'd been taught those skills. But when I started writing, I couldn't tick off any points. I didn't even know what points I had to tick off. All I had was just a blank piece of paper and a desire to become a writer. So it was like square one. So what you should do at square one is break down this task into its core fundamental things. What are the absolutely most important things that you must do to ensure the continuation of this idea? Once you get good at the bread and butter of what you're trying to do, and you've got those 3 or 4 core points nailed down, you can then start adding more and more points to your job description, and as you add more points to your job description, you improve. So let's suppose that I pursued this fantastic textbook business. The 3 core things that I would absolutely have to do to ensure that that business survives from year 1 to year 2 would be, number 1, ensure that I have enough students using my service. Number 2, ensure that I have enough products on that service to attract the students I need. And number 3 would be ensuring that I have a website that can not only process transactions quickly, but also serve as this intended discussion space. Once I get good at those 3 or 4 things, I can then start adding more and more points to that job description and find more improvement. So yeah, it comes back down again, like I said, self-evaluation when you're trying to improve is key. And what also helped me with self-evaluation was being open to criticism. Now the reality is, not everyone is going to have something useful to say. You might think that everything you've heard from me so far is a load of garbage. I mean, it's definitely not, but it's possible that you could think that. So what it's about then with criticism is understanding that not everyone you come across is going to have something worthwhile to say. But that doesn't mean that you should just dismiss criticism and advice as a whole. So let's suppose that you come across 5 different people and you already know that 4 of them are going to talk rubbish. So you think to yourself, well, why bother listening to any of them? They're all just, no one's going to help me from this, so it's all pointless. But if you neglect that because there's 4 people there that can't offer you advice, you could miss out on what that one person has to say, and what that one person has to say could be crucial to your development. So don't close off your mind to criticism and advice, welcome it, but know how to assess good advice from bad advice. If in the event that you don't have somebody there to offer you a form of criticism or some kind of guidance, then what I found to be useful was learning to critique myself. So along this journey of trying to become a writer, at every single point, every little activity I did, every little article, every little sentence, email, whatever, word. So that's with writing. If you're a musician, it might be every little song, every little this, whatever it is. At every point on your journey, imagine that your work is going to be checked by what I would call an annoying and demanding boss. Now, why I would describe this person as annoying and demanding is because naturally, we don't always want to seek criticism. We might listen to it, but it's not our natural thought to seek improvement at first, especially when we've done something good. If we've done something good, I mean, I'm looking to have my little 10 moments in the sun. I'm not looking for your immediate feedback, but if you can welcome that kind of feedback and that mentality where you say, okay, I've done something good, but I could maybe improve this, I could maybe improve that, it helps a lot. So if this metaphorical boss would say to you, yeah, good job, that passes, well done, let's move on to the next task, then yeah, you've done a good job. But if your boss would say to you, you know what, between me and you, we both know this isn't your best work, then go out there and do your best work, because like I said, when you get taught something, you have a teacher there to make those decisions for you. So your lecturer might say, improve this, improve that. Your teacher in school might offer you some advice. But when you teach yourself something, you're both the teacher and the student. So self-evaluation is the thing I found what kind of underpins improvement. The more aware you are of the process, the more you'll improve. So bringing all of this together, this idea of perseverance and improvement, I decided to launch my own writing platform last year called Plugsville. Now, having written for quite a few smaller sites and a few bigger ones, I spotted what I believe to be a gap or a niche for the content that I'm bringing. So I'm still a writer, just like I was 4 years ago, but the only difference is now with Plugsville and my other work, I don't have to shamelessly spam up my friends every time I do something new, even though I still do because I enjoy doing that. So if I had to go back to what I originally said about teaching yourself something new and then getting experience with it, the general gist of everything I've just said comes down to this. So point 1, perseverance. Understand what needs to be done. Break down the task at hand to know what skills you need at what point. Don't just think because you worked it out at level 1 and you went from level 1 to level 2 that you automatically know what to do to get from level 2 to level 3 and then from level 3 to level 4. At every new level, at every new experience point, at every new thing you do, take a bit of time to assess what you need to now do to reach the next point. And then once you have an idea of the process and exactly the things you need to do, commit to it, persevere with it. Be ready to go through that period where you're not seeing the validation you want. You're not seeing followers. You're not seeing whatever feedback. You're not seeing anything, but you're getting better, and that's all that's important, because once you get better, you can reach the levels you want to reach. That's point number one, persevere. Point number two would be, once you know what you're trying to do, once you know what these steps involve, once you know what skills you have to go out and get, then just make it your business to never stop trying to improve at those things. But on that note, you don't want to get caught in a chase where you're always going after the next thing and you're just moving like a headless chicken, just chasing the next thing and never enjoying anything. So if you do something good, enjoy it, celebrate it. I often find that, I know I'm guilty of this, but we don't take time to celebrate our good moments. But when we do something wrong, we're very quick to give ourselves a hard time. I'm very guilty of that. So when you do something good, enjoy it, celebrate it, let yourself feel happy, party it up, do what you need to do. Once your celebration's done, always remember to refocus and get back on that journey again of trying to achieve the next goal. So how I'd like to end is by saying, if there's something out there that you kind of want to do, or there's like an idea or a passion or something in your mind that you want to pursue or do more of, then what's stopping you? Thank you.